The chandelier in the Langford family dining room cast long, golden shadows across the polished mahogany table, but the light never reached the coldness in Victor Langford's eyes. Sophia Reynolds sat rigid in her borrowed thrift store dress, the faded floral print itching against her skin, every thread a deliberate lie. She had chosen this outfit. Scuffed flats, no makeup, hair pulled into a messy knot, to test the man who claimed to love her. Tonight, she would learn the truth. Across from her, Marcus Langford smiled, that easy, disarming smile that had first melted her defenses 8 months ago in a rainy Seattle bookstore. "Soph, you okay?" he murmured, squeezing her hand under the table. His thumb traced gentle circles over her knuckles, the same touch that had made her believe, just for a moment, that someone could want her without knowing her bank balance. She forced a small nod. "Fine, just nervous." Evelyn Langford, pearls gleaming like tiny moons at her throat, tilted her head. "Nervous is understandable, dear. Not everyone is accustomed to this." Her gaze flicked over Sophia's dress with the precision of a jeweler appraising a flawed diamond. Victor set his fork down with deliberate care. "So, Sophia, Marcus tells us you're a writer. Freelance?" "Yes, sir." Sophia kept her voice soft, humble, the voice of the woman she pretended to be. "Mostly tech and science pieces for online magazines. It pays the bills." "Barely." Victor's laugh was short and sharp. "Barely." Charming word choice. He leaned back, studying her. "And your family? Any notable names we might recognize?" "My mother's a retired schoolteacher in Tacoma. My father passed when I was 16. Cancer." The grief in her voice was real. The rest was carefully rehearsed. Evelyn made a sympathetic sound that didn't reach her eyes. "How tragic." "No siblings?" "No." "Connections?" "None worth mentioning," Sophia answered quietly. Marcus shifted beside her. "Mom, Dad, can we not interrogate her? She's here because I asked her to be." Victor raised an eyebrow. "We're simply getting to know the woman our son intends to marry." "Marcus, that's hardly an interrogation." Sophia felt the air thicken. She excused herself to the powder room, but instead of turning left down the hallway, she slipped right, toward the study door she had noticed earlier. Slightly ajar, heart slamming against her ribs. She pressed close. Inside, Victor's voice was low, controlled fury. "She's beneath us." "Marcus, beneath us. Look at her, dressed like she shops at the Salvation Army bin. No pedigree, no prospects. You'll be a joke in every boardroom from here to Singapore." Marcus's reply came slower, quieter. "Dad, I love her." "Love?" Victor scoffed. "Love doesn't pay the mortgage on this house. Love doesn't keep the Langford name respected. She's sweet, I'll grant you that, but she's temporary. You need someone who elevates you, not drags you down." A long silence. Then Marcus, voice cracking, just enough to break Sophia's heart. "I know tonight was rough. The way she showed up. It embarrassed me too. Just give me a few weeks. If she doesn't step up, if she can't fit into our world, I'll end it. I promise. I won't let this ruin everything you and Mom built." Sophia's knees buckled. She gripped the doorframe to keep from falling. The ring on her finger, the one Marcus had slipped onto her hand under fireworks 4 months ago, suddenly felt like a shackle. "You're my forever, Soph," he had whispered that night. No matter what, liar, she would never hide again. And Marcus Langford would never forget the night he lost her. The Pacific Tech Summit Gala glittered like 1,000 false promises under the cavernous ceiling of the Seattle Convention Center. Crystal chandeliers refracted light across black ties and sequined gowns. But Sophia Reynolds felt none of the warmth. She stood at the edge of the stage in her crimson silk gown, the fabric clinging like armor, emeralds at her throat catching every flash. The applause for her keynote still echoed in her ears. Words about innovation born from pain, about turning loss into legacy. She had spoken of her father's cancer without once mentioning the billions it had fueled. Now, as the crowd milled toward cocktail hour, she saw them. Marcus Langford, pale and hollow-eyed in a tuxedo that suddenly looked too big for him, stood frozen beside his father. Victor's face had gone the color of old parchment. Evelyn clutched her clutch bag like a shield. Sophia didn't move. She waited. Marcus broke first. He crossed the marble floor with the urgency of a man drowning. Sophia, he breathed when he reached her. Please, just 5 minutes. I need to explain. Her laugh was sharp, brittle. Explain? Like you explained to your father how you'd cut me loose if I didn't shape up? Quote, heads turned. A few phones lifted discreetly. Victor stepped forward, forcing a smile that didn't fit his face. Ms. Reynolds. Sophia, we had no idea who you were. If we'd known. Quote, if you'd known, Sophia cut in. Voice low and lethal. You would have kissed my ring instead of spitting on my dress. But that's the point, isn't it? You didn't know, and Marcus still chose to treat me like garbage. Marcus's eyes were desperate, glistening. I was wrong. I was scared. My father. He's spent my whole life telling me what I have to be. I panicked, but I never stopped loving you. Not for a second. Love? Sophia stepped closer, close enough that he could see the tears she refused to let fall. You stood there while he called me trash. You agreed it was humiliating. You asked for time to decide if I was worth keeping. That isn't love, Marcus. That's cowardice wearing a nice suit. Evelyn's voice rose, thin and indignant. This is absurd. You deceived us. Pretended to be some penniless writer. You tested us. Quote, Sophia turned on her slowly. I protected myself from people exactly like you. People who only see net worth when they look at someone. And guess what? Your son proved you raised him perfectly. Marcus reached for her arm. Soph, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll walk away from them right now. Quote, don't. She pulled back as if his touch burned. Don't you dare use this moment to play the hero. You had your chance. You chose them. Live with it. Victor's jaw tightened. Young lady, you're making a spectacle. Quote, I'm making the truth visible, Sophia snapped. Something your family clearly avoids. She turned on her heel, the crimson gown swirling like spilled blood, and walked away. Behind her, Marcus's voice cracked. Sophia, please. Quote, she didn't stop. Later, in the quiet of her penthouse, Sophia stood at the window overlooking the dark water of Elliott Bay. Her phone buzzed. Clara, her mother, calling from Tacoma. Baby, I saw the clips online already. You okay? Quote, Sophia pressed her forehead to the cool glass. No, Mom, I'm not. Clara's voice softened. He looked like a broken man tonight. Good, Sophia whispered, but the word tasted like ash. He should feel broken. You sound like you're trying to convince yourself. Quote, Sophia closed her eyes. I hate that I still care. After everything, you loved him deeply. That doesn't vanish because he failed you. I know, Sophia said, voice trembling, but I can't forgive someone who only changed after he lost the prize. Maybe he's changing for real now, Clara said gently. Or maybe not. But holding on to hate, it only poisons you, sweetheart. Sophia didn't answer. She ended the call and stared at her reflection. Strong, untouchable, lonely. Across the city, in the Langford mansion, Marcus stood in the study where it all began. Victor poured scotch with shaking hands. She's a fraud, Victor muttered. Tricking us like that. Marcus's voice was quiet steel. No. Dad, I was the fraud. I pretended I was better than the way you raised me. I'm done pretending. Victor turned. What are you saying? Quote, I'm saying I'm leaving. The house. The firm. All of it. Marcus met his father's eyes without flinching. I let you define my worth for too long. Tonight I saw what that costs. Evelyn appeared in the doorway. Face pale. Marcus. Don't be dramatic. Quote, I'm not, he said. I'm finally being honest. He walked past them both, grabbed his coat, and left without another word. Outside, rain fell in sheets. Marcus stood on the wet pavement, breath fogging, and felt something shift inside him. Not relief, not yet, but the first crack of light in a long darkness. He had lost everything, and maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of finding himself. 2 years had carved new lines into Marcus Langford's face. Lines of sleepless nights, hard labor, and quiet regret. The man who once wore bespoke suits now stood in faded jeans and a plain gray hoodie outside a community health clinic in Rainier Valley. His hands, once soft from keyboards and handshakes, were rough from hammering Habitat for Humanity frames and sorting medical supply donations. HopeLink, the nonprofit he'd founded on nothing but shame and determination, now had a small office, 3 part-time staff, and a growing list of families who'd received free genetic screening thanks to partnerships he'd begged, borrowed, and bartered for. He didn't do it for applause. He did it because every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sophia's face the night she walked away in the rain. Saw the betrayal he'd helped carve into her. You're different now, an elderly patient told him one afternoon as he helped her carry groceries to the bus stop. Used to see boys like you come through here. Rich kids volunteering for a resume line. You stay. You listen. Marcus swallowed hard. I'm trying to make up for lost time. That night, alone in his 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, he opened his laptop and typed another unsent letter. The kind he wrote every few months and never sent. Sophia, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve to ask for it. But I need you to know. I'm not the man who stood silent in that study anymore. I quit the firm the week after the gala. I cut contact with my parents. I've spent every day since learning what it means to be someone worth standing beside. Not for you. Not to win you back, but because I can't live with who I was. If our paths ever cross again, I hope you'll see that. If they don't, I'll still keep trying to be better. Marcus. He saved it in the folder labeled Never Send and closed the laptop. Across town, in the glass and steel tower that housed Nexus Biotech, Sophia Reynolds sat at her desk long after the building emptied. Spread before her were grant proposals, clinical trial data, and a photo of her father she kept in the top drawer. His smile frozen in time. She had everything: wealth, influence, a company that was saving lives. Yet the victory tasted hollow. Her mother's voice echoed from their last call. You're building an empire, baby, but who's building a life with you? Quote, Sophia had snapped back then. I don't need anyone. But the lie was wearing thin. She dated carefully screened men who moved in the same circles. They were polished, ambitious, safe. None of them made her laugh the way Marcus once had. None of them looked at her like she was the only person in the room. One evening, after turning down yet another dinner invitation, she opened her phone and, against every instinct, searched his name. Articles appeared. Former heir launches nonprofit to bridge biotech access gap. Photos showed him at ribbon cuttings, handing out flyers at community centers, speaking at small conferences about health equity. In every image he looked quieter, realer. The arrogance was gone. Something earnest had taken its place. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She almost clicked message. Instead, she locked the phone and pressed it to her forehead. Why do I still care? She whispered, Because love doesn't die cleanly. It lingers, bruised and stubborn. Months later, at a small industry mixer, an old colleague leaned in. You hear about Marcus Langford? Guy's turned into Mother Teresa with a spreadsheet. HopeLink just got a major grant from one of your competitors. They're saying he's the real deal. No ego, just results. Sophia's heart stuttered. Good for him, she managed. The colleague raised an eyebrow. You don't sound convinced. I'm not convinced of anything anymore, she admitted softly. That night she dreamed of rain and broken rings and a man who once held her like she was the entire world. She woke with tears on her cheeks and a single, terrifying thought. What if he really has changed? And worse, what if she wasn't brave enough to find out? Meanwhile, Marcus stood on a rooftop overlooking the city lights, wind tugging at his hoodie. He'd just finished a 16-hour day, clinic shifts, grant writing, counseling a scared mother whose child needed a therapy Nexus had pioneered. He pulled out his phone, opened the Never Send folder, and stared at the latest letter. For the first time, he hesitated before closing it. Not tonight, he decided, but maybe, someday, he'd find the courage to send one. The call came at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in late autumn. Sophia? Clara's voice was thin, frightened. My chest. It hurts so much. I can't breathe. Sophia was out of bed before the sentence finished. Heart hammering. Mom, stay with me. I'm coming. I'm calling 911 right now. By the time she reached Tacoma General, Clara was already in the ER. Monitors beeping wildly. Sophia burst through the doors. Still in yesterday's clothes. Hair wild. A doctor met her in the hallway. Massive myocardial infarction, he said without preamble. We've stabilized her for now, but she needs emergency bypass. Our cardiac theater is booked solid. Next available slot is 6 hours out. 6 hours. Sophia's knees nearly buckled. She won't make 6 hours. We're doing everything we can. Quote, do more. Sophia's voice cracked. Raw. Please. She paced the sterile waiting room. Fists clenched. Whispering prayers she hadn't said since childhood. Every tick of the clock felt like a blade twisting deeper. Then the automatic doors hissed open. Sophia? Quote. She turned, and the world tilted. Marcus Langford stood there in volunteer scrubs. Badge clipped to his chest. HopeLink coordinator, Harborview affiliate. His eyes widened when he saw her face. Marcus? The name came out half whisper, half accusation. He stepped closer, careful, like approaching something fragile. I volunteer here twice a week. Liaison work with the cardiac unit. I heard them page a Clara Reynolds. Is she? Quote, my mom, Sophia finished. Voice breaking. Heart attack. They can't operate fast enough. Marcus didn't hesitate. Let me see what I can do. He pulled out his phone and walked to the corner of the room. Sophia watched, numb, as he spoke in low, urgent tones. Dr. Hale? It's Marcus. Yeah, emergency transfer. Clara Reynolds. Female. 68. STEMI confirmed. She's Sophia Reynolds' mother. Yes, that's Sophia. No, this isn't about politics. This is about saving her life. Can you clear a slot at UCSF Northwest? I'll handle transport logistics. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Then Marcus returned, expression steady. They're prepping an OR. Airlift's on its way. She'll be in surgery within the hour. Sophia stared at him. How? Quote, connections have built over the last 3 years. HopeLink partners with half the cardiac programs in the Northwest. Dr. Hale owes me a favor from last year's grant cycle. He met her eyes. It's done. She's going to be okay. Tears spilled over before Sophia could stop them. Why are you helping me? After everything I said to you. After the way I walked away? Quote, Marcus's throat worked. Because she's your mom. Because you love her. And because the man who stood silent in that study doesn't exist anymore. His voice dropped. I'm not doing this to score points. Soph. I'm doing it because it's right. She searched his face, really looked, and saw no calculation, no hidden agenda, just quiet resolve. They sat in silence after that, side by side on hard plastic chairs, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Hours later, the surgeon emerged. Successful quadruple bypass. She's in recovery. Strong vitals. She's a fighter. Sophia sagged against the wall, relief crashing over her like a wave. Thank you, she whispered. To the doctor. To the universe. To the man beside her who hadn't moved an inch. Marcus stood. I should go. Visiting hours start at 8. Tell Clara I'm glad she pulled through. Wait. Sophia's hand caught his sleeve. Stay, please. Just until she wakes up. He hesitated, then nodded once. Clara opened her eyes at dawn. Groggy but alive. She saw Sophia first, then Marcus. You, Clara rasped, a faint smile tugging her lips. The boy who broke my daughter's heart, and just saved her mother's. Marcus ducked his head. I'm just glad you're okay. Mrs. Reynolds. Clara looked between them, eyes sharp despite the morphine. Sit down, both of you. We're going to talk. Sophia obeyed instantly. Marcus hesitated, then pulled up a chair. Clara's gaze settled on him. I don't know what you've been doing these years, young man, but I know my daughter. She's spent every day since that night building walls higher than Everest, and yet here you are. Still showing up when it matters. Marcus swallowed. I don't expect anything, ma'am. I just, quote, you just grew up, Clara finished. Took you long enough. Sophia's laugh was half sob. Mom. Clara squeezed her hand. Baby, life's too short for grudges that weigh more than love ever did. She looked back at Marcus. You hurt her once. Don't do it again. I won't, he said. Voice thick. I swear it. Clara closed her eyes. Exhausted but peaceful. Good. Now both of you, get out of here and let an old woman rest. In the hallway, Sophia turned to Marcus. The silence between them felt different now. Charged. Fragile. Alive. I watched you, she admitted quietly. The articles. The nonprofit. I told myself it didn't matter. But it did. Marcus's eyes never left hers. I didn't do it for you to see. I know. She took a shaky breath. That's why it matters. Neither moved to leave. The hallway lights flickered softly. I'm scared, Sophia whispered. Me too, Marcus answered. But for the first time in 3 years, the fear didn't feel like the end. It felt like a beginning. 3 years to the night since the rain-soaked breakup. The Pacific Tech Summit Gala once again filled the convention center with light and ambition. Sophia Reynolds stood backstage in sapphire silk, the gown shimmering like captured midnight. She was no longer the woman who hid behind thrift store dresses or iron walls. Tonight she would speak not just as CEO, but as someone who had finally learned to let the armor fall. She adjusted her notes when a familiar voice cut through the murmur of crew and VIPs. Sophia. She turned. Marcus Langford stood there. Simple black suit, no tie, hair slightly longer, eyes carrying the same quiet depth she'd glimpsed in the hospital hallway months ago. He looked nervous, but not desperate, just present. Marcus. Her voice came out softer than she intended. You're speaking tonight? Quote, panel on equitable access in biotech. HopeLink got invited. He gave a small, self-deprecating smile. Didn't expect to see you backstage. Small world, she said. The old sarcasm gone. A long beat passed. The hallway noise faded to a distant hum. I saw your mom last week, he said quietly. She ambushed me at the clinic with coffee and a lecture about how I should have sent those letters. Sophia's lips twitched. She's relentless. She's right. He took one careful step closer. I almost sent them 100 times. Every time I wrote one, I told myself it would sound like I was trying to win you back. And I didn't want that to be the reason I changed. Then why did you change? The question slipped out, raw and unguarded. Marcus met her gaze without flinching. Because the man who stood silent while someone he loved was torn apart. That man disgusted me. I couldn't live in the same skin anymore. So I burned it down. Piece by piece. Not to impress you. Not to earn forgiveness. Just because staying the same wasn't an option. Sophia felt the ache in her chest shift. Less sharp. More tender. I looked you up. More than once. I told myself I was just curious. But every article, every photo, I kept waiting to see the old arrogance. The calculation. It never came back. I left it behind, he said simply. Along with the family name. The corner office. The approval I spent my whole life chasing. Turns out none of it was worth what I lost when you walked away. Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them back. I was so angry. For so long. I built this whole life to prove I didn't need anyone. Especially not you. And now? His voice was barely above a whisper. Now. She exhaled shakily. Now I'm tired of being right. Tired of being safe. Tired of waking up every morning and feeling like something's still missing. Marcus didn't move. Didn't reach for her. He just waited. Patient. Steady. The way he'd waited through 3 years of silence. I forgive you, she said at last. The words trembling but clear. Not because you earned it. Because I need to let go of the hate before it finishes killing what's left of me. Marcus's breath caught. Thank you. But I'm not done, she added quickly. I want to know this version of you. The one who shows up for strangers. The one who doesn't run when things get hard. I want to know if there's still room for us. Or if we're just two people who hurt each other once and learn to be better apart. He swallowed hard. There's always been room for you. There always will be. But only if it's what you want. No pressure. No games. Just honesty. Quote, the MC's voice crackled over the speaker. Keynote speaker Sophia Reynolds to the stage in 2 minutes. Sophia looked toward the curtain. Then back at Marcus. After my speech, meet me on the east balcony? 10 minutes? Quote, he nodded once. I'll be there. Her keynote flew by in a blur of applause and bright lights. She spoke of breakthroughs and second chances. Of loss that reshapes rather than destroys. When she finished, the standing ovation felt distant. All she could think about was the man waiting outside. The balcony overlooked the city. Lights glittering across the sound like scattered stars. Marcus was already there, hands in his pockets, looking out over the water. She stepped beside him. Wind lifted strands of her hair. I meant what I said, she told him. I want to try again. Slowly. No hiding. No tests. Just us. Honest. Messy. Real. Marcus turned to face her fully. I want that more than anything. But I need you to know. If we do this, I'm all in. No safety nets. No running when my family calls or when the world expects something else. You get every part of me. The broken parts. The growing parts. All of it. Sophia reached up, fingers brushing the line of his jaw. Good, because I'm done with half measures too. He caught her hand gently, pressed his lips to her palm. I love you, Sophia. I never stopped. I just forgot how to show it right. I love you too, she whispered. And this time, I'm not afraid to say it. They kissed then, slow, deep, full of 3 years of longing and forgiveness and fragile new hope. When they pulled apart, foreheads resting together, Sophia laughed softly through tears. We're really doing this? Quote, yeah, Marcus murmured. We really are. Months later, under the same stars but in a quieter place. Her mother's backyard in Tacoma. They stood hand in hand as Clara officiated a small wedding. No society pages. No billion-dollar guest list, just friends. A few HopeLink volunteers. And the people who mattered most. Clara beamed as she pronounced them married. You may kiss your bride. Marcus did. Gentle, reverent, certain. Later, as they swayed on the makeshift dance floor under string lights, Sophia rested her head on his chest. We almost lost this forever, she said. But we didn't, he answered, arms tightening around her, because we both chose to grow instead of stay broken. She looked up at him, eyes shining. Here's to second chances. To second chances, he echoed. And to every day after. And in that quiet promise, under the soft glow of lights and love rebuilt, they stepped into the rest of their lives. Not perfect, not without scars, but together, whole.